Hey there, friend. I'm really grateful you took a moment to watch this. And if you feel like subscribing, well, that would honestly mean a lot to me. Now let's get into it. A strong breeze rattled the rusted signage above the repair shop as Adrian Mercer stepped out into the cooling Tennessee twilight. The smell of grease and gasoline clung stubbornly to his jacket, woven into the fabric like it belonged there. His hands, calloused and blackened by the day's labor, bore evidence of the hours he'd spent breaking down a '96 Tahoe piece by piece. The day was drawing to a close. The younger guys had already clocked out, revving their engines and chasing the promise of loud music and cold beer. But Adrian moved slower now. He used to rush home, timing the drive down to the minute so he could hear the happiness in her voice when his keys jangled in the lock. But that was before the joy vanished, before her greetings faded into silence and her arms stopped reaching for him. Adrian, Chattanooga born and bred, 43 years old, was a man built on dependability, wearing loyalty like a uniform. For 15 years, he'd shown up at Montgomery Auto without fail. No excuses, no shortages. Always enough. For her, for them. Her name was Brooke. They met during a summer storm in a Walmart parking lot back in 2009. Her battery had died. Adrian had offered a jump start and gave her his number too. She was sharp-witted and radiant, her laugh slicing through the rain like a sunbeam. They got married quickly, too quickly some might say, and settled into a modest home on Whisper Pines Drive. For a while, life had a rhythm, not perfect, but solid. It was good enough. But recently, Brooke's welcome had grown colder. She barely looked up when he walked in. At first, it was little things. No more evenings on the porch together. No more, "How was your day?" Then came the quiet dinners eaten apart, and eventually, she stopped joining him altogether. That Thursday, Adrian picked up Chinese from May's Walk, her favorite place. He even remembered the extra sauce, just how she liked it. When he called out from the kitchen, the only answer was the sound of the TV changing channels. She didn't turn her head. Standing behind the couch, he tried again. "Got your orange chicken," he said gently. She paused the show. "Not hungry." "You feeling all right?" he asked. "Just tired," she replied without looking up. He lingered a moment longer than he should have, watching her scroll. Her thumb stopped on a photo of a shirtless fitness coach, then paused again on a quote. "Don't settle for average love." That night, Adrian ate alone. The egg rolls turned cold. He didn't feel anger, just an aching kind of emptiness, the kind that comes from being slowly edged out of someone's heart. Later, in bed, when he lay down beside her, she turned away like his presence was static in the air. He left without a kiss the next morning, and by the weekend, things had unraveled further. After a brutal shift, sweaty and sore from wrangling a stubborn brake job, Adrian came home to find her dressed and made up. "Going out?" he asked, tossing his keys on the counter. "Dinner with Paige and the girls," she said, applying lipstick in the mirror without sparing him a glance. "You didn't mention anything." "I didn't think I needed to." Her perfume lingered long after she was gone, an echo of something that no longer felt his. Adrian microwaved leftover lo mein, cracked open 2 beers, and took a seat out on the porch. Bruno, their lab mix, rested his head on Adrian's knee like he somehow understood the whole picture. Brooke got back around 1 in the morning. She didn't notice the truck parked further down the block with its lights off. She didn't realize Adrian's keys weren't hanging by the door. She didn't catch that her scent wasn't quite the same. Adrian wasn't in bed. He was in his truck, parked with the engine off, the glow of his phone lighting his face. On screen, Kyle Freeman, her co-worker, recently single, into hiking, gym regular. Adrian remembered catching a glimpse of her phone earlier. One message stood out. "Last night was wild, your trouble." Trouble. The word didn't break him. It steeled him. Adrian didn't yell. That wasn't his nature. He was methodical, reliable, a fixer. But this wasn't a broken alternator. This was decay, quiet, slow, and deep. He didn't go inside that night. He drove 2 towns over and sat in a grocery store parking lot, just outside an all-night gym. In the soft dome light of his truck, he looked at himself in the mirror. Same face, same strength, same steady resolve, but something inside had shifted, snapped. By Sunday, the plan was clear. No screaming, no scenes. He would approach this like any complicated repair, calm, focused, exact. She craved unpredictability. Danger? She was about to see what it meant when a quiet man stopped being quiet. Monday dawned cold, but the temperature between them was colder still. Adrian woke before sunrise, brewed coffee, fed the dog, and packed his lunch into the same scuffed cooler Brooke once called charmingly blue collar, back when her compliments felt like affection. This time he didn't look at her. No morning greeting, no shared breakfast, no goodbye. Brooke noticed. She didn't speak, not yet. But as Adrian passed the living room, her voice stopped him. "Adrian?" He paused, back still turned. "Yeah, you're out early. I always leave at this time." And with that, he was gone. At work, Adrian threw himself into the grind. By noon, he'd swapped 2 alternators and helped a rookie tech troubleshoot a sputtering Civic. But his mind wasn't under the hood. It was building the evidence. He started digging. Bank statements, gas station charges, odd Venmo notes, a new gym across town, and then the nail in the coffin, a hotel bill, $186. The same weekend, she said it was Paige's birthday. One slip, one name, one uncovered truth. Brooke hadn't thought he'd notice, hadn't believed he'd check. That night, she tried a new tactic. "Thinking of making dinner tomorrow?" she said lightly, as though nothing had changed. "That's so?" he murmured, eyes locked on the muted TV. "Yeah," she added, watching him carefully. "Figured it might be nice." He didn't reply, just drank his beer. She leaned in a little. "Adrian, are we okay?" The pause before his answer was surgical. "What makes you ask that now?" Her smile faltered. "You've just seemed distant." He turned his head slightly. "Distance happens after someone stops trying. I already stopped." She blinked, startled. "That's not what I meant." "Yes, it is," he said, voice even. "You just didn't expect me to notice. Or worse, you relied on me not caring enough." Brooke reclined in her chair, the ache sharp, though far from surprising. Deep down, she had always known this moment would come. But she'd worn denial like a second skin, convinced it would hold. "You're reading too much into this." Adrian's voice was level. "Number, I'm just finally calling it what it's always been." She didn't argue. By Tuesday, Adrian had changed every login. His bank accounts rerouted, his will updated. Piece by piece, he packed his belongings, tools, papers, even that old guitar she used to roll her eyes at. Still, he came home each evening, sat through dinner without a word. At night, he lay beside her like a stranger, his silence an impenetrable wall. When she attempted to start a conversation, he listened just long enough for her voice to lose confidence. Then came Friday. He walked through the door and found her collapsed on the kitchen floor, crying. Her phone rested beside her, screen aglow. The message was still open. "So you're ghosting me now?" Kyle Freeman. Adrian stopped cold. Brooke's head snapped up, panic etched deep into her expression. "I can explain," she whispered. "No need," he said softly. "I already knew." She scrambled up. "It wasn't like that. It only started when things got bad between us." "No," he interrupted. "Things got bad because I was freezing alone. You just layered up." She broke, dropped into a chair, voice cracking. "I didn't mean to stop loving you." "And I never meant to vanish," he replied. Silence filled the space between them. "Are you leaving me?" she asked, barely audible. "No." Her breath caught. "Because I already did," he said. "I just hadn't taken my body with me yet." She reached for him, but he moved away. "Don't," he murmured. "Not because I'm mad, but because your touch would feel like theft." She wept, and for the first time in months, Adrian didn't feel hollow. He felt light. The man she had dismissed, diminished, and finally replaced wasn't broken anymore. He was beginning again. His silence had turned into armor. That weekend, he boxed the rest of his things and moved into a buddy's spare room in Franklin. It wasn't permanent, but it was peaceful. He rewrote his daily rhythm: early mornings, a local boxing gym, a new pair of work boots. Slowly, steadily, he gathered the scattered parts of himself. As for revenge, it wasn't going to be dramatic. There would be no confrontation, no begging. His resurgence would be quiet, unmistakable, and she'd see every bit of it, from barely a mile away, surrounded by the rubble she helped cause. Adrian hadn't disappeared. He'd just stopped circling her gravity. 2 weeks later, Brooke stood in the doorway of their old home, wrapped in a robe, cupping the mug she'd once designed for him. She drank her coffee alone. She'd expected a call, an apology, some sign of retreat. But this time, Adrian didn't come back. He was up at 5:30, in a modest apartment above a welder's garage, brewed his coffee dark, laced up his boots, hit the gym before work. The exhaustion that had dulled his spirit was being replaced by strength. The frame that had once sagged under emotional weight stood tall again. Even at work it showed. Marcus, his longtime friend, noticed one day when Adrian hauled a busted transmission solo and shrugged off his hoodie. "Damn," Marcus said, wiping grease off his hands. "Looks like you're lifting more than just engines." Adrian smiled. "Yeah," he said, "I'm lifting my heartbreak." But it wasn't just physical. After hours, he started frequenting a small cafe tucked in a bookstore, filled with the scents of espresso, paper, and warm vanilla. He brought a notebook, not to write his pain, but to chart a future. Plans, goals, no vengeance, at least not the loud kind. This was restoration. That's where he met Renee. No glitz, no forced charm, just plaid shirts, a ponytail, and a quiet warmth, offering lattes with the same grace at sunrise or closing. One day, noticing his grease-stained fingers, she joked, "So you're the guy who keeps tricking my check engine light." He laughed. For the first time in what felt like forever, it was genuine. "Adrian," he said, offering his name. "Renee," she replied. "You always look deep in thought with that notebook." "I am," he said. "I just don't know what I'm writing yet." She smiled and handed him a cinnamon muffin on the house. "Whatever it is, it's working. You look lighter." Maybe he was. Back at Brooks, that lightness had evaporated. Her once curated Instagram, full of filtered beach days, gym poses, and borrowed wisdom, had gone quiet. Likes dwindled. Her circle shrank. Kyle Freeman had stopped responding, probably after Adrian sent a single razor-sharp text. "I don't compete for someone who treats loyalty like an accessory. She's all yours now." No rant, no spectacle, just a clean break. But it stung. She began appearing unannounced. Twice she parked across from Montgomery Auto Repair, watching him joke with coworkers, posture confident, smile unburdened. The third time, she walked into the cafe. Renee was behind the counter. Adrian sat by the window, scribbling, as if he belonged there. Her heels tapped across the wooden floor. Adrian didn't even blink. "Adrian." He looked up, calm and composed. "Brooke." Renee noticed the tension and quietly slipped away. Brooke tugged her sleeve. "Can we talk?" "We are. What do you need?" Her voice faltered. "You're cold." "No," he said. "I'm clear." "I miss you." "You miss control," he replied, not unkindly. Tears touched her eyes. "It wasn't just Kyle." "You didn't just betray a vow," he said, leaning back. "You gutted our home, left me hollow, and still took from me like I'd never run dry." She bit her lip. "People mess up, Adrian." "So did I," he said. "I believed you'd grow beside me." The silence stretched. She inched forward. "Can we fix it?" He stood, tucked away his notebook, and nodded to Renee in the back. "Brooke," he said as he held the door open for himself, "I'm already fixed. You're just too late to see it." Then he stepped out into the evening sun, leaving behind the scent of cinnamon and fading echoes. That night, Brooke sat alone at the kitchen table, the same one where she'd once scrolled endlessly while Adrian cooked and cleaned, carrying the weight of both their hearts. She now stared at old photos, their smiles wide, but only one of them had held true love in their eyes. Hers had always been aimed at the lens. By mid-September, Adrian had evolved into someone she couldn't place anymore, no matter how hard she tried. Montgomery Auto Repair still paid his bills, but it wasn't his purpose. Not anymore. In the hush of those drawn-out evenings, Adrian arrived at a quiet understanding. Tranquility without purpose was just a different kind of void. So he pushed forward. He started something on the side, a mobile car repair service. Just him, his worn-down Silverado, a custom trailer bearing his logo, and the steady grind of word-of-mouth marketing. He called it Mercer Mobile Mechanics. The name was plain, solid, and felt like it belonged. His earliest clients came through recommendations: single moms, aging couples, busy men with no time for the shop. Adrian pulled into their driveways, replaced brakes, fixed blown ACs, swapped out dead starters, and left behind only grateful smiles. Before long, Facebook started buzzing. Fast, honest, courteous. Didn't just fix my car, treated me like a neighbor. His mornings began before sunrise in the garage, and his nights ended near midnight in the field. Exhausting? Absolutely. But this time the work was his. And every evening, after pulling off his stained gloves and popping open a cold beer outside his garage apartment, Renee would show up. Sometimes with food, sometimes just herself. She never lingered too long, never pushed for more. She wasn't there as some reward for effort. She was simply there. One evening, as Adrian was scrubbing grease from his arms, she stood near the driveway, smiled, and said, "You ever gonna ask me out?" Her arms folded, that easy glow on her face. He met her eyes calmly. "Not until I'm done picking through the wreckage." She gave a slow, approving nod. "Good. I prefer men who finish what they start." Then turned and walked away. Meanwhile, Brooke was coming undone. She'd expected him to crash, to crawl back. Instead, she watched the man she'd dismissed turn into someone people admired. Even her friends, once loyal to her alone, followed his business page. Some even said over brunch, he really was a great guy. As for Kyle, he'd vanished. No explanation, no goodbye. Brooke went from being Adrian's world to a forgotten name in the town she once ruled. One night, she uploaded an old picture of them together, captioned, "We were better before the world changed us." Adrian blocked her instantly. But what shattered her completely came later. Driving through Franklin, she spotted it. A clean, modern sign stretched over a storefront. Mercer Mobile Mechanics. "We come to you. Quality, integrity, no guesswork." A freshly detailed white and blue pickup sat beside it, the logo gleaming. This wasn't survival, this was triumph, and none of it included her. That evening, she knocked on his door. Adrian answered, composed. "Don't," he said gently but firmly. "There's nothing to explain that I haven't already moved beyond." Tears welled in her eyes. "I made a mistake." He nodded. "So did I. I married someone who thought love was optional." Her voice faltered. "Can we talk, just for a moment?" He stepped outside and closed the door behind him. "This is the moment. Talk." She searched his face. He looked different now, steady, whole, as though pain had shaped him into something finished. "I was afraid," she whispered, "afraid of losing us. I didn't know how to stop it." "You didn't want to stop it," he replied. "You wanted excitement, disorder. I wasn't chaos. I was stability. You chose noise over truth. That wasn't fear. It was a decision." She moved a little closer. "You're really not coming back, are you?" He tilted his head. "I'm already too far ahead to turn around." She tried to hold his gaze but looked away first. Then she turned and walked off, more slowly than she'd come. Adrian returned inside, shut the door, and headed back to his workbench. His phone lit up. "Renee, logo redesign's done. Can't wait to show you tomorrow." He smiled. The purest kind of revenge wasn't about ruin. It was about rebuilding in plain sight of the one who once tried to break you and never needing to hurt them in return. The next morning rolled in like any other. Adrian was elbow-deep in an engine bay, swapping a serpentine belt on a Ford Escape parked outside a realty office, when his phone buzzed again. Not Brooke. His banker, Mr. Mercer. Just confirming. The final paperwork is ready. Once signed, Mercer Mobile Holdings takes full ownership. Adrian glanced across the street. The building Brooke had worked in for nearly 10 years stood there, a dull, two-story box of glass and fading ambition. He smirked. I'll swing by after lunch. No one, not even Brooke, knew that for months, Adrian had quietly been acquiring shares in the holding company that owned the property. The landlord was aging and ready to offload. Adrian offered straight cash. No negotiation. Under market. Now, he wasn't just her ex. He was about to become her landlord. That Friday, Brooke sat at her desk, ignoring another meaningless message from a man whose name she hadn't saved. Her world had shrunk, colorless and still. Adrian had become a ghost she couldn't forget. When the office manager called an urgent meeting, she didn't pay attention until the words hit her. We've got a new owner. There'll be updates to the lease. You'll meet with him next week. She blinked. Who is it? No name. Just Mercer Holdings. Her chest tightened. No, it couldn't be. A week later, the truth arrived. She stepped into the conference room, and there he was, sitting at the head of the table, wearing a fitted gray shirt, jeans, calm as ever. A leather folder rested in front of him. Brooke, he said with quiet civility. Her mouth opened, but no words came. He tapped the top page. Your department's rent stays the same, for now. But utilities and shared expenses are your responsibility moving forward. We'll meet monthly. You'll report directly to me. The room fell silent. Brooke's voice cracked. Adrian, what is this? This, he said, snapping the folder shut, is structure. The same thing I brought into every part of my life, including our marriage. You just didn't recognize it until I wasn't there to provide it. I didn't think you'd... You didn't think I'd rise without you? You figured I'd collapse. But while you chased distractions, I built something lasting. He stood. Meeting's over. Transition starts Monday. Brooke remained frozen, eyes locked on the table as if it might offer an escape. Adrian walked past her, then stopped. I don't hate you, he said, but I don't owe you closure. That vanished the night you chose silence instead of truth. Barely audible, she asked, Are you happy now? He nodded. I found peace the moment I stopped begging to be seen. That's not just happiness, that's freedom. 6 months later, Mercer Mobile Mechanics was operating in 3 counties. Renee, no longer just a design partner. She was the one who met him where he was, every day. She never tried to repair him. She simply stood beside him as he healed. There was no grand gesture. Love came softly, like rain after drought, not to flood, but to renew. And Brooke? She left the state. No one knew where. Her social media went quiet. Her world dimmed. Sometimes she would scroll through old photos. But some things, once they're gone, never come back. Scroll down to the one she once held dearest in her heart. There was Adrienne behind the house, bathed in the harsh afternoon light, working on her sister's car, her shirt soaked through, her smile easy and unforced, casting a look her way that made her feel seen, like she truly existed in someone else's world. She'd watch quietly and think to herself, he must have loved me once. But love that's never returned turns into something else. A story you keep telling just to stay connected to a moment that once felt real. Meanwhile, Adrian never looked back. Because once you've escaped the fire, you don't rummage through the ashes. You begin again, from bare ground, and swear never to let another hand strike the match. This is where the story ends. You're welcome to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for reading. If this touched something in you, explore more stories on this channel. Until next time, take care, friend.